Vancouver Canucks get booed off the ice, and for good reason, after a 6-1 loss to the Dallas Stars. This is Rink Wide Vancouver. And we welcome you inside the Rink Wide Vancouver studios in the wake of a 6-1 Dallas Stars trouncing of the Vancouver Canucks. Hey, but we got a trade tracker at the bottom of the screen if you're watching us, so that's a nice new addition. So that's something as the Canucks reach the 60-game mark with just one game to go now until the National Hockey League trade deadline, which comes up at noon Pacific time on Friday. The DFO trade tracker that you see is powered by Puckpedia. Don't forget to join the DFO crew on Friday, starting at 8 a.m. Pacific for the daily face-off trade deadline special. I'm Jeff. He's Irf. We're in our usual spots, and we're dealing with our usual material, quite frankly. Yep. Although, it was bad on Saturday in Seattle. This one is going on a short list of worst performances of the season by the Vancouver Canucks, and I think you have to, context matters. You keep the opponent in mind. The Stars have matched a franchise record with their 9th straight victory, hottest team in hockey as they came in. But Irv, no Mikko Rantanen, no Rope Hintz.
Nope.
Hintz has 44 points. Rantanen leads the Stars with 69 points. The Vancouver Canucks are as healthy, manpower-wise, as they're going to be and maybe have been all season, and they mustered 7 shots on goal over the final 40 minutes.
I'll tell you what. I'll start here. I would like to give a tip of my cap to the Canucks because after watching that game on Saturday, I thought there was absolutely no chance that it could have gone any worse, that they were going to have some sort of effort. And boy, was I wrong. This Dallas Stars team, like you mentioned on X, skated circles around the Vancouver Canucks, and they didn't even hit their good gear.
No.
They didn't even need it. That's how listless this performance was from the Vancouver Canucks. Top to bottom, not good enough in any aspect of the game. And here we are again after a 6-1 trouncing.
6 straight losses for the Vancouver Canucks, if you're counting, or maybe you've just kind of lost count because they all look and feel the same. But 0-4-2 now in their last 6 hockey games, have been outscored 11-2 in their last 2 outings, 5-1 in Seattle the other night, and 6-1 here at the hands Dallas. And the Canucks opened the scoring, and really in the first period, they were all right. They matched the Stars. They 8 scored once. The Canucks had a power play in the first period that I thought power play has just been dreadful. Put it on the list of many things for this Canucks hockey club. I actually thought the power play looked pretty good in that first period. They were zipping it around, generated a couple of decent looks, but that was the high water mark on this night. And they go to the locker room after one period, tied at 1, and it was like the Stars were like, all right, let's rev it up here a little bit. Not even a lot, as you said. They didn't break a sweat in this night. I mean, yeah, Jason Robertson scored. Honestly, I didn't even notice him an awful lot. They didn't need him going. Wyatt Johnston leads the NHL in power play goals. Wyatt Johnston wasn't all that much. The Canucks got beaten by Liam Bichsel with a pair, Adam Ernie with his 4th goal of the season, Colin Blackwell, and Sam Steele is out there looking like some morphing of Connor McDavid and Macklin Celebrini behind the back passes. We needed Matt Duchene on the Olympic team to score into an empty net like that, but that's for another day. I am curious. On a day where a lot was made of things we heard in the locker room after the morning skate, and yet another pledge that rings oh so hollow. Just concentrating on tonight. Going to be better. Have to be better. Got called out by the coach. The response was a 3rd straight game without a shot on goal. Yeah, that's a big old 0. Now, 40 had a lot of company in this hockey game.
Yep, 100%. And
so it's not all on him, but all roads lead back to him. And again, he was the focal point of the game in Seattle the other night because he got benched. He didn't get benched. His line mate got benched. Jake DeBrusk getting pulled off that line. That's not going to be as big a storyline. It's not as sexy. It's not as meaty in this market. But Jake DeBrusk has completely fallen off the map. He has just gone AWOL offensively for the Vancouver Canucks. But again, he's not the only one.
No, look, the second place team in the NHL did this to the Vancouver Canucks. You know who's coming in on Wednesday? The third best team in the National Hockey League. So we'll see what happens after that show. Please tune in. We will see you then. But look, I think that when you look at it, it's almost hard to believe a little bit because we've heard this song. I'm going to start with Elias Pettersson. We've heard this song and dance from him before. Gets called out by the coach. Doesn't play a good game. Has the accountability factor? I need to be better. There's one road game where he got absolutely destroyed in the faceoff circle. I got to win more faceoffs. I got to do this. I got to do that. Next game rolls around, ghost town. Not around, doesn't show up, doesn't do anything. Now, Beatty had a couple attempts blocked. Totally fair. But not engaging, not really doing anything. And those are the things that Adam Foote wants to see. He had the highest ice time on the day for the Vancouver Canucks among the forwards.
Yeah.
Like it's unfathomable that a guy can just completely disappear off the face of the earth the way that this guy has, and in all reality, not seem to care. And I think that that's where the frustration lies within the fan base and obviously the coaching staff, general managers, president, leading up to the president, is what the hell is going on with this guy. Now, Jake DeBrusk, like you mentioned, also seems to have fallen off the face of the earth a little bit. And again, what is it? Because his center iceman isn't going? And is that part of it, right?
Part of it, of course. Like, he's not a guy that creates a lot on his own. But at one point, Jake DeBrusk was one power play goal off the league lead. And so his one trick, he's a one-trick pony this season, and the one trick has disappeared.
Yeah.
Jake DeBrusk has one goal in his last 17 hockey games. It came against Pittsburgh back in mid-January, that homestand. And that was an even-strength goal. So I'd have to look it up, like the last time he scored a power play goal. And he was out there on the Leon Bichel goal that makes it 2-1 that turns out to be the game winner, the first of Bichel's two. He was out there for a minute and 26 seconds. And now so was Tom Willander and Marcus Pettersson. So this isn't all on Jake DeBrusk. But the long change in the second period, the Stars just started to toy with the Vancouver Canucks. The number of times that the Canucks couldn't touch the puck, couldn't possess the puck, couldn't clear the puck, and the Stars were able to get a line change in, fresh legs, continue the attack. And so, yeah, they finally got the puck out to center, and I guess Evander Kane and Petey got off the ice. Jake DeBrusk couldn't, so he stays out there, and then he loses track of Bichel, who sneaks into the slot and beats Nikita Tolopilo. And that made it 2-1, and at that point the Stars were off and running because a minute and 10 seconds later they made it 3-1 on just an absolutely clinical goal. You want to look and see what the second best power play in the National Hockey League looks like?
Run it back, Jacob. That's a beautiful goal.
The easy entry, the setup along the sideboards, and Jason Robertson, one of the top snipers in the National Hockey League. You know, you put the puck on his stick, bam. He makes no mistake. And so it goes from 1-1, and the Canucks foolishly thinking that they're in the hockey game, and in a minute and 10 seconds, gone in 70 seconds, essentially, was this one tonight. Yeah, we're watching it. Why not? It's a nice goal from the Dallas Stars. And again, they've got the second best power play in the NHL behind only Edmonton. That's how you do it. You find a guy who can pull the trigger in open ice, and he makes no mistake. And it went from 3-1 after 2 periods of play, and then the floodgates opened. 3 goals to run away and hide. The Dallas Stars win it by a score of 6-1. So, again, 6 straight losses for the Canucks. 2 victories in their last 22 hockey games. Yeah, I repeat, 2 wins in their last 22. And they lurched to the 60-game mark. Not that that matters. I think the most important thing about the 60-game mark is that it means that there are just 22 to go.
Yeah, 22 of these. 22 more to go.
I say just 22, you're right. But there are still 22 to go.
We'll get to the trade talk a little bit later, but in all reality, like, there's a reason why GMs aren't lining up and knocking on the door of Patrick Allvin and Jim Rutherford right now, because like you mentioned, Jake DeBrusk, what was it, 1 goal in his last 17? Yeah. Connor Garland, 1 goal in his last 20-something games. Elias Pettersson, 0 shots. Like, there is so much right now that isn't going right for this team, and the problem isn't the goal scoring and all that. It's the effort. We know you're probably going to lose the hockey game, but when you lose the hockey game and you look like you don't care, that's what makes it so much worse.
got a super chat, and we appreciate this one, and we'd love more. We like super chats here at Rink Wide. For a nominal contribution, we'll get your submission to our inbox into the queue and get it out on the air here. Our Super Chat charity partner again this season, the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. This one comes from Canucks fan 9420. It's time for EP40 to go, along with all members of the old core, meaning Besser and Demko. And I've seen a fair bit of that in social. Just drain the swamp, clear, all this talk about resetting the culture. You can't do it with guys who have been here and really haven't won anything. Now, Thatcher Demko's injured, so he's certainly not getting traded. Then the contract kicks in. Brock Besser, in the first year of a lengthy contract, and he's got full control. So even though his name maybe has surfaced a little bit this week, it still feels like a long shot that he's going to be on the move. And
insanely low.
And
I'll
then,
put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, you get 3 performances like this one where EP40 is getting called out, and there's no response. And again, it's just lip service. He can say whatever he wants. Every game that goes by, he can say, I've got to be better. It's not about saying it. It's about doing it. It's about being it. And that's the issue here when you're the highest paid player in the National Hockey League, or not the highest paid, your highest paid player on your National Hockey League team. And it comes with expectations. And look, we get that it's been 2 years. It has been 2 years to the day that he signed that new ticket. He's been in steady decline since. So, does anybody truly have expectations for him at this point? But you have to know, just give it some effort. People want to see an honest effort. They're paying big money. It's pro sports. These aren't cheap tickets. People want to be entertained, and we know, for the most part, the Canucks have been a disaster on home ice, so there really hasn't been a whole lot in the way of entertainment from the home side on so many nights this season.
I know we like to do numbers on this show. He would be the highest paid player on 25 other teams in the National Hockey League. Let that sink in for a little bit.
Yep.
So any of one of those GMs, other than of those 25, you acquire him, he immediately becomes your highest paid player. And if you get efforts like this, yes, you're banking on 100 and whatever point Elias Pettersson. He might be a 70-point guy. And you know what? 70 points, 75, 80 points in the NHL, that's good. Not when you're getting paid that kind of money. I want to go back to this morning. What did you take away from that interaction and kind of the way that he dealt with the media this morning? And it was Elias Pettersson. We know he doesn't like talking, but it seemed a little bit more off than usual.
Yeah. Again, I don't like the hostile witness thing. You are supposed to be a leader. You're supposed to be a guy that other players gravitate to. And I watch him at practice. I watch him at morning skates. He's out there on his own. It doesn't feel like he interacts with his own teammates. And this isn't, me just making this up. As he suggested, I go to every practice. I go to every game day skate. And, first of all, any joy that he has from being a professional hockey player just seems like it is so far out the window now.
Yeah.
And as he said, losing sucks. I mean, that might have been the best and most honest thing that he had to say this morning. But and I know her, Gemma Carson-Smith, who covers all sports locally here for Canadian Press, might be the nicest person in the world.
Yep.
And if not the nicest, on a very short list. And for him to take attitude, and when she asked about him coming back from the Olympics and he gave her the 2 games? Okay. 2 games. 2 games where you're getting paid a shit ton of money to perform and produce, and now it's 3.
No, it's 3, and you have no shot on that.
So, ditch the attitude, ditch the victim thing here, and just get out and play harder than you have played to this point. You haven't forgotten how to play the game of hockey. And yeah, you're not surrounded by the best players, and I don't get why Adam Foote continues to run with Jake DeBrusk and Evander Kane. I just don't get that. I think the coach is, people can question a lot that's going on with this hockey club. I see that kind of thing, and I just, at some point, I know people say, oh, was it emotion the other night when he got to play with Karlsson and Höglander? Was it? Really? Maybe on a depth chart somewhere, but, give him some different line mates. Play him with Liam Ogren. See, experiment. Now is the time. In the third period of this game tonight was the time. And so tonight it was DeBrusk that got taken off that line, replaced by Connor Garland. You're taking DeBrusk with his 1 goal in 17 off the line, and you're replacing him with a guy that's gone 21 games or 22 now without a goal. So I get that Adam Foote's options are limited, but just running that same trio night after night after night when it's not happening for any of them makes no sense to me.
Look, we've been around you a little bit longer than me. Have some really bad hockey teams. Over the years in this organization, in the history of this organization. Go back to teams with Lyndon Vay, Zach Dalby. No disrespect to them. I know they're taking shots here, but I'm not trying to. But these are some teams that had these players. Those players would go out and compete with heart every single night. They weren't good, and they knew they were going to get their teeth kicked in on most nights. Here, you know you're going to lose probably going up against the Dallas Stars, but you don't have an effort. You don't have the heart. It's just
it's coming off
difficult.
a 5-1 shellacking down the highway in Seattle the other night.
And we've seen that so many times with this team and this group, whether it's called out by coaches, whether it's called out by the president or the GM. Like, your president comes out and says the team is basically, we're going to get rid of everybody in November. What have you done since then? Not win a lot of hockey games.
Swinkrumpel in the chat says, I know it's not a talented group and we can't expect much, but the lack of give a shit from many of these guys is disgusting. Need some guys who actually care about this team, city, and fans. Amen to that, brother. And we've talked about that. I mean, lack of pushback within the games.
The first captain cared a lot.
Lack of response from game to game. And then, as you said, they turn around and they get Carolina coming in. And, Carolina lost in Seattle tonight. Outshot the Kraken 37-15. So it was essentially the same type of game territorially. But the Kraken were able to get some saves, and they win the game 2-1. So now you got Carolina mad. You got the Hurricanes. They're going to be mad coming in here.
And they're not losing twice. Especially not against this team.
So just keep that in mind as well. Spetzilly says, J-Pat going off. I wouldn't want him to be disappointed in me.
We like the chat.
But you asked me, what was my takeaway? It was just that, it was the attitude. He had to know. It was a road game the other night. Drance was down there, but there wasn't much in the way of media. Off day yesterday, so of course he was going to get asked about it. He had to know that, and he was the one that came into the scrum and looked like he wanted to pick a fight, and I don't get that. I think he thinks in his mind, and I'm not inside that head, but it feels like he thinks the one-word answers won't ignite any sort of flame in the marketplace that, if I don't say anything, they don't have anything to run with. But then you run them in their entirety. I think Farhan went back and did the math. It was 15 questions in 3 minutes. And so you play it in totality, and he has to understand that a bunch of one-word answers, it's not a good look for him. It's not a great strategy, and it's not working. It's not working off the ice. It's not working on the ice. And again, I want to be clear here. He's the highest paid guys. We talk about him a ton, but Brock Besser was invisible in this hockey game.
Yep.
Marco Rossi is back, I think, but he's done nothing in his return to the lineup. The best line for the Vancouver Canucks in recent weeks has been that line of Bluger with Garland and Liam Ogren, and they got absolutely caved trying to take on the matchup of Matt Duchene and the top line of the Dallas Stars in this hockey game. And I'm just looking at the underlying numbers, the final numbers. Shot attempts for when Bluger and Ogren were on the ice at 5-on-5, 20-4 in favor of the Dallas Stars. So those guys barely touched the puck in this hockey game. Phil Hronek, who gives you the solid effort most nights, but he takes the delay of game penalty puck over the glass, and that was the power play goal that Robertson scored on. Marcus Pettersson, who has just had a dreadful season, with the giveaway of all giveaways there that led to the Duchene goal with the Sam Steele around the back pass early. And again, if the Canucks thought that they had something left in the third period, 1 minute and 33 seconds in, self-inflicted wound, Pettersson hands the puck away, and the Stars make it 4-1, and then it became 5-1, and ultimately 6-1 is your final. So, I can go down this list here. We'll get to our 3 stars. There won't be a Canuck among them. Spoiler alert there. But really hard to pick out who was the best of a bad bunch on this night?
Yeah.
Vander Kane scores. Good for him. His 11th of the season. Going to the net, you want to see that, but didn't even put his stick on the puck. In the old days, that wouldn't have counted. That would have been considered kicking the puck in. There was no kicking motion. He's putting the brakes on. But But that was it. That was it for the offense for the Vancouver Canucks on this night. 1 goal off a skate, and that was all they could muster. 7 shots in the first period and 7 shots the rest of the way as the Dallas Stars essentially played keep away from the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, and there's a lot of maturing that needs to go on in this group, and it's wild to say because you look at the players that I'm talking about. One guy's 27, one guy's 28 or 29. Like these are players that should already be mature and understand. You get your teeth kicked in, you probably should have a good effort the next night. The maturing process should be happening in learning the game for Zeev Buium and Tom Willander and the young players on this team, not the older guys who go out and are having the lackluster efforts. Like that's how you develop bad habits, that's how you develop bad culture, and that's exactly why where we are today.
All right, let's get to the 3 stars. 3 stars here on Rink Wide, a representation of Greta Bar YVR. And yeah, there's 60 games in the books, but that means 22 still to go. And if you're looking for a place to catch all of the action on any of the big screens, Greta is the place to be. We tell you that on every show. They got the game day food and drink specials, terrific atmosphere, the arcade games, a bunch of fun. And on occasion, you see Canucks Army staffers and the crew down there.
Yes.
We're working on our next watch party, so stick around for some details there. 50 West Cordova, Greta Bar, let the games begin. All right, 3 stars in the building. Liam Bischel is the 1st star. Jason Robertson is the 2nd star. Matt Duchene gets 3rd star honors. A few familiar faces, but slightly different. We're going with Matt Duchene. He had a goal and an assist. He had 4 shots on goal. And when we talked about that matchup game on the night, like it truly was keep away when Matt Duchene and his line were on the ice. The shot attempts were 26-7. 26-7 in the Stars' favor when Matt Duchene was out there on the ice tonight. So just an incredible night for him and his crew. Actual shots were 15-3. He was on the ice for a pair of the Dallas goals. And he has been driving the bus here on this win streak. That's his 8th goal in the last 9 hockey games. So without Rantanen and some of the other guys, Matt Duchene is picking up the slack. That's how you get it done in the National Hockey League, having depth that can help you sustain some injuries to key players. And that's just something that we haven't seen here in Vancouver all season long. There's Liam Bischel. He's a big dude, and he got rolling tonight. He came into the night with 1 goal, and he leaves with 3. So
good for him.
Yeah, doesn't score often, but he had a pair tonight. So good night for him. And there's Sam Steele, who finishes with 2 assists, including the play of the night, the behind-the-back pass, had the 4 shots on goal as well. And another guy, just a sort of handy utility piece that plays hard. When we talked about guys on the Canucks that play hard, aren't nearly enough of them. Every time I see Sam Steele, and he's bounced around a little bit, but he seems to have found a home in Dallas, just shows up and competes. And there's enough skill there in his game that when they slot him higher in the lineup, he's able to keep up and do his part. So clean sweep for the Dallas Stars as they head for Calgary and back-to-backs. And again, they didn't expend much energy in this hockey game, so should be fresh and ready to go as they try to push their win streak to double digits. All right, another super chat from 7 and 7. I don't think I've ever seen a team have so many glaring giveaways in a single game like tonight to where the Boudreau-era Canucks look better defensively. Yeah, I mean, that's sort of where we are. We are back to, and again, this is a healthy team. This, outside of Tyler Myers, like, this is as good as this group can be.
Yeah.
And I don't know, can they convince Tyler to get back in the lineup here? Like, they miss him. The young guys, it's baptism by fire. I get that. And there's going to be some nights like this. I understand that. It comes with the territory when you're dead last and you're trying to break young players into the National Hockey League. So you live with their mistakes, but it's hard to live with Marcus Pettersson, who's been around the block. He's done this forever. You don't expect any offense out of this guy. Like, his job is just to be a defensive defenseman. He's sound in his own zone.
Yeah.
And he can't do that on so many nights as well. And so, you know, the management group, they paid the price to bring him in. They extended him right away. They can talk him up in his character, but ultimately you are judged by what you do on the ice. And it has been a dismal season for the veteran blue line.
Absolutely, 100%. And on a lot of nights, lost gets caught watching. I mean, Tyler Myers obviously not playing, but that pairing was a nightmare for the Vancouver Canucks this season. It's been tough sledding for Marcus Pettersson, and I think that, you know, when you look at it, the giveaways, obviously the one here in this hockey game was absolutely atrocious. That just can't happen for someone like him, or even anyone in the NHL level that plays consistently. But I just wonder where his game fell off. And I'm not entirely sure, like you just mentioned, you know, they gave up a lot to get him and then they extended him right away. Like, I know he's a guy that Jim Rutherford liked, but was he the right guy to go and do that for as the player? Like, this is who he was in Pittsburgh. It wasn't really going to change much coming to Vancouver. Like, I didn't think that people think that he was going to suddenly get better as a player here. Like, this is who he is.
Yeah.
And he's here forever now.
I mean, Rutherford locked on. He traded for him once to get him from Anaheim to Pittsburgh, and then he thought he would bring him here. We know the backstory. I mean, what they paid to get him. And again, for a team that was showing signs then of needing a rebuild, that just didn't feel like the right kind of move. But he's here. He's under contract. He's certainly not getting traded because there's just not a team in the league that would have scouted the Vancouver Canucks this year and thought that's a piece that we need here. For any sort of playoff push or playoff run. I do want to mention, speaking of defensemen, and this becomes an interesting point as well, P.O. Joseph left this hockey game. They finished the night with 5 defensemen. Well, they play again on Wednesday. Tyler Myers hasn't played the last 3, but he's taking up a roster spot still. So they're over a barrel to some degree. Like, if P.O. Joseph can't play on Wednesday, either Tyler Myers puts the past week in the rearview mirror and suits up for the Vancouver Canucks against everything that he has sat out for because they need 6 healthy defensemen. They don't have an open roster spot right now to bring up Victor Mancini. And the league, it's not an emergency situation. The Canucks are choosing to keep Tyler Myers out for asset protection. So I don't want to get ahead of myself. I don't know P.O. Joseph's status at this point, but unless they make a trade to free up a roster spot, this is going to be a situation worth monitoring.
Well, I think that, one, I do believe that we're going to have a Tyler Myers decision on some way or the other in the next, whether it was 24 hours or 48 hours. I think they'll have some clarity of the situation. But you're right. If P.O. Joseph can't go, are they going to address? They're not going to address 5 defensemen. Myers is going to have to play. And then it becomes, well, we're protecting him. He's only in practice and he's only taking warm-up. And then what happens if Tyler Myers plays like Tyler Myers does? Block shots, plays hard, unfortunately gets hurt. And then your asset that you thought that you were protecting no longer is one, and he becomes an anchor for you. Like,
and again, against one of the top teams in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy on Wednesday. I don't care who's in that lineup. It is not going to be easy. It hasn't been easy for anybody in the NHL against the Carolina Hurricanes. But yeah, like, this story is so fascinating because of all the unknowns. And especially, you mentioned P.O. Joseph leaving the game and, having to go down the tunnel. And obviously, we don't know his status yet. But it's going to be very fascinating in the next couple of days to see what decision Tyler Myers decides to make. If he chooses to go east, or if he says, no, I'm okay, or if someone else decides to pony up a pick for him, or if they say, okay, you know what? You're just going to stay now. He's going to exercise his right to stay here and be a Vancouver Canuck.
Yeah, well, I know that there was some suggestion that maybe the Dallas Stars were his preferred destination.
They watched him in warm-up today.
I look at their defense tonight. They did just fine. Now, they were playing the Canucks. I get that. But, even Nils Lundqvist got a breakaway, clear-cut breakaway in the third period. So, Coop in the chat says, I'm scared they aren't going to do anything significant before the deadline again. And, yeah, I mean, I haven't seen that a little bit more as the days move along. I'm shocked at how little action there's been in the National Hockey League. I know the Oilers made their move and got Connor Murphy earlier in the day. But we're inside of, 4 days now. And I guess I just thought coming into the Olympic break that maybe there would be more trade activity. The Canucks have been open for business since November and really haven't done, Kiefer Sherwood as far as their pending UFAs. And yes, they traded Quinn Hughes. But the memo about all the UFAs, I think we're seeing the fact that Kane and Kampf and Bluger are still here, tells you to some degree. Like, if the Canucks had a legitimate offer for Evander Kane, and they didn't think it was going to get appreciably better before the deadline.
Jeff, they're willing to retain.
I understand that.
Yeah.
So I think they would have pulled the trigger.
I agree.
Which tells me that the guys that the Canucks have on the market, that, there just isn't all that much interest that they truly will be 11th hour guys. Meanwhile, Aatu Räty and Max Sasson, and say what you will, they're not going to be saviors for this hockey club, but they just sit and spin their wheels and have to wait while these pending UFAs continue to play night in, night out. David Kampf looked like he was in some distress, got hit by the puck at one point in the second period, but he stayed in the game. He finished, so not too concerned on that front there. But yeah, I want to see Räty. I want to see Max. I'd like to see Max Sasson play on the wing. I've said that repeatedly here, but it's tough. I mean, if this team is going to go down and perform like they did here, I would much rather see some of these young guys that might be a little bit hungry rather than the same group of veterans that just are not performing to an acceptable standard.
I agree. I think after the deadline, you will see that for sure. But heading into this week, just to go back to your point, there hasn't been a market for the players like people think there has been. There's all this talk about X, Y, and Z and Garland. Okay, maybe Garland they've had the most calls about him. That's probably the guy that they've had the most calls about. But beyond that, you look at a guy like Jake DeBrusk, pretty quiet around him. Obviously, Elias Pettersson, super quiet there. Brock Besser, probably not going anywhere. I don't think he's going to wave. And then the UFAs, the Camps, the Blugers, the Canes. Hasn't been anything there of significance for the Canucks to want to pull the trigger. It's not like they don't want to trade these players. They do. Other GMs in the National Hockey League are looking at this team and be like, all right, well, we can just offer them whatever at the deadline and know that some of these players they're eventually going to have to get rid of. And, it's going to be super low cost for us. And if we want to do it, we can. And if we don't, we don't.
Apparently, P.O. Joseph getting x-rays on an upper body injury after the game, that according to Adam Foote. So that would suggest that, they may think there's an injury of some significance there. Hopefully, you hope for the best for P.O. Joseph, but we shall see. But it just kind of feels like this is all heading to the Canucks being backed into a corner on Wednesday night to ice a National Hockey League lineup, and we'll see how things go. Super chat from 7 and 7 is second of the night. We love that.
Thank you.
Contribution. And should the Canucks keep with Foote, or do you bring Malhotra up early to get some sort of change before the trades happen? Well, the coaching change isn't happening between now and the trade deadline. They got one more game here. I think if they were going to have made a coaching change, and this is what I didn't get about the Los Angeles Kings. The Kings had the Olympic break. Why wouldn't you have made the change then? Ken Holland talked about, we pushed it as far as we could. They came out of the Olympic break, got stuffed a couple of times. Then they ended up beating Calgary with a shutout win. That was the last straw. So strange there. You had this built-in training camp, essentially. I was surprised that there wasn't a coaching change or two around the National Hockey League. Quite frankly, I thought this is an opportunity that doesn't come along every season to get 5 or 6 practices with your group. But whatever the case, the Canucks, I think they're going to stay with Adam Foote for the remainder of this season. But I think that with 22 games to go and performances like these last two, it's going from bad to worse here in a hurry. You heard them get booed off the ice heavily. And that was through the television at the end of the hockey game. I had people in the building tonight that said it was as empty as they have seen it all season. And this is the Dallas Stars, one of the top teams in the National Hockey League coming through. And the tickets may be sold originally, but people are just eating them. They're deciding that it's better to take their lumps and not get off their couch and make the effort to go downtown to watch this hockey team. So, that's going to be something about. They've got another 8-game homestand coming up here after they get off the road on the weekend in Chicago and Winnipeg.
I don't think that they're going to relieve Adam Foote of his duties. I just think that with, like you said, 22 games remaining on the schedule, it seems like he is going to ride this one out with them. Now, beyond this season, I think 7 and 7 said, bring up Manny. there is no guarantee that Manny Malhotra wants this job. Like there is no guarantee from the organization that Manny wants this job. I think that they when they interviewed him, there was a thought that they could have had Manny. I think that Manny wanted some insurance as to if something was gonna happen, Manny wasn't gonna get fired right away and things like that. Obviously, that's what you do. But there's gonna be options in this coaching cycle. Right? I'm not saying Manny's going to get the Leafs job if they fire Berube, but he's have some familiarity there with the Toronto Maple Leafs organization. If Utah goes sideways, there's going to be an opening there, and that team's got a ton of cap space, some superb young talent on that roster that he's probably going to interview for.
He played in Columbus. Rick Bowness is a stopgap right now, we think. So,
like, there are going to be options for Manny Malhotra.
For sure.
And look, I'm not saying that Manny doesn't want this job or won't interview for this job, but there will be options. And what is happening right now, and you just really look at it for the next few seasons, maybe even more than a few, 4 or 5, before it's going to get better, you're going to have to take a really hard look at it if you're Manny Malhotra, or if you're anyone that's going to be maybe if the next coach of the Vancouver Canucks. But I think Adam Foote's in until the end of this season, and it's going to be really interesting to see what they do this summer, because it wouldn't surprise me if he was back as a head coach.
I do wonder, though, like, if Carolina comes in here and runs their show, again, like, they've got all these home games down the stretch, like, and we've seen it in the past. It can get pretty owly at Rogers Arena. So I do think all bets are off, but I think I'm on the same page as I think right now, as I sit here, I think Adam Foote survives these final 22 games. But again, if there are a few more 6-1 thumpings where there's a no-show, I mean, part of his job is to get whatever roster he's got to work with to get them ready. And it just doesn't feel like guys are going through the wall for each other, and they're certainly not going through the wall for their head coach.
I just don't think that they're going to pay Adam Foote not to coach and pay a guy, even if it's for 21 games or 18 games, that bump in salary for that much time to be the head coach. I just don't think that they're going to do that.
All right, we've gone through a number of stats from this hockey game, but let's get officially to our stat that stands out. And this one is more about the visitors than it is about the home team. We mentioned it earlier, but with tonight's win, Dallas has established a franchise record with its 9th straight victory. 7 of the first 8 were by 1 goal. I know Dave Tomlinson mentioned that on the broadcast. And, you know, sometimes that's what it's about. You don't always have to run your opponent out of the rink. It's about being 1 goal better at the end of the night. And the Stars have found a way to got 21 goal victories on the season. So they find a way to win the close ones, and then they find ones where they're able to pull away and put games on ice like they did against the Canucks. It's 10 of their last 11 as well. So their only loss was a 1-0 loss to the Columbus Blue Jackets a couple of weeks ago before the Olympic break. But this Dallas team means business, and we'll see. They were big players at the trade deadline last year. We'll see what Jim Nill has up his sleeve. In fact, he's been active the last couple of years. They made the Chris Tanev deal a couple of seasons ago as well. I mean, they've been one of the model franchises in the National Hockey League for a while now, but in this current cycle with this group of players, they haven't been able to get over the hump, right? They're a Final Four team. They are one of the best teams in the West perennially, but is this going to be different? It's going to be such a dogfight just to get out of the Central Division, to avoid the 2-3 matchup in the Central Division. And, you know, the Dallas Stars trying to put a little heat on the Colorado Avalanche. The Avs beat Los Angeles Kings 4-2 tonight, so both of these teams at the top of the Central were winners. And, you know, that's a tough night for the Minnesota Wild, as all they can do is sit and watch. Just looking at the standings, Colorado with 89 points, Dallas up to 83, and Minnesota with 80. And Minnie's played more games than those other two. So, you know, Minnesota is going to have its work cut out for it. You have that kind of season, Minnesota could finish top 5 in the NHL quite easily and have to start on the road just with the playoff format the way it is. So, them the breaks, but Seattle's win, that strengthens their grip on third spot in the Pacific. And in fact, it bumps the Edmonton Oilers into a wild card spot for this night. Vegas on top of the Pacific Division with 70 points. Anaheim just a point back with a game in hand at 69 points. Seattle up to 67. And then you got Utah and Edmonton both on 66. But the Mammoth holding down the first wild card spot, the Edmonton Oilers into wild card number 2.
It's interesting. You think of Dallas, they've had some good teams in the past, obviously going on, long runs in the playoffs, but never won 9 in a row.
That surprised me too.
Yeah.
And I think Shorty mentioned that as well. And I think this is just the Dallas part of the franchise. I don't know that this carries back to the Minnesota days. They're calling it a franchise record.
Yeah.
But
it's probably Dallas then.
But I was surprised too. All these teams, all the star players that they've had. And yes, a chance tomorrow night in Calgary to hit double digits for the first time ever. A couple other topics that we haven't touched on in this game. And we've talked about all the guys that really did nothing. I was encouraged. Now, there's no bottom line, and there hasn't been all season long. But Nils Höglander had a couple of chances. Rang one off the crossbar, and then a Dallas turnover led to, I think it was Linus Karlsson that set him up in the slot for a one-timer. Again, you're starting to wonder, is he ever going to score? His drought is 21 games this season, all 21 games that he's played. And in fact, you go back to the end of last season, it's 24 games now for Nils Höglander without putting a puck in the net. But at least there was some try there. He had a couple of chances.
Yeah, no, and I think that's what you need to see from him. We called him out last game and have been all season and said, where's this player gone? If you can get half of that effort night in and night out, or one every couple of games, then that's what you're going to want to see from Nils Höglander. And that's how it's going to get him moved up into the lineup to potentially maybe play with his buddy, Elias Pettersson, right? But you have to show that, A, you want to be there, 2, you're engaged, and 3, you're doing something with your ice time. It may be limited. You may not be getting a lot. You may be upset about it. But when you're out there, if you're making an effort and making it known, and when they go look at video, they're going to notice him. So that's a good thing for him.
The other guy is Nikita Tolopilo, and look, I've been on the train that says play this guy and keep giving him opportunities because it's not happening for Kevin Lankinen. He didn't help his own cause. Didn't get any help offensively, really on the night, just the one goal. But the Canucks have a 1-0 lead. They get out in front. They get the start that they're looking for, and Nikita Tolopilo basically whiffs on the Adam Ernie shot that goes off the end boards. He was slow getting across off his skate and in. I don't know if he wasn't anticipating the bounce, the speed of the bounce, if something surprised him there. But just watching the replays a couple of times, he's got to, that's not an NHL play. He's got to make a better play on that puck. And his awareness wasn't where it needed to be. And that's tough because the Canucks can't afford to give freebies away to anybody, let alone one of the top teams in the National Hockey League. And then once the Stars started to ramp it up, some nice goals, guys picking their spots, picking corners, going high, the Robertson goal, all those types of things. I'm not going to sit here and beat Nikita Tolopilo up. He wasn't the reason that they lost this hockey game. But that's going to sting for him. He's pushing to get more starts, and when he gives up 6, that doesn't help his cause.
No. He doesn't get any help, which is totally, but there were some saves that he probably should have had, and there's some times he was caught completely out of position, and you and I questioned this, is you got to see what you have in the guy. How much runway can you give him? Can you give him a couple games in a row? Can he play 2 games in 4 nights? Is he able to handle a workload of the NHL? We've seen him obviously do it, at the American League level, but this is different. You got really good shooters. You got a Jason Robertson. You got very talented players in the National Hockey League. So you hope he'll get it. Look, these are growing pains for him. Yep. He's young, but there's no one expecting him to go in and start, the rest of the season or go in and become a starter or a backup next season. But he'll learn from this.
Yeah, the Ernie goal, he's got to wear that one. The Blackwell goal where he just walks out of the corner untouched. Again, there were breakdowns before it got to the front of the net, but he just outweights Tolopilo on that play. Bischel on the second of his 2 goals on the night beats him short side. You'd kind of like a stop there, but again, it made it 6-1, so it didn't really matter. Nikita Tolopilo gives up 6 goals officially on 37 shots. Carolina comes in, that's going to be a challenge, and then back-to-backs on the weekend, and they'll split those. So I would assume that it's Lankinen on Wednesday, and then take your pick, whether it's Chicago or Winnipeg. But either way, it's a quick turnaround. 5:30 Pacific time start on Friday night, and then it's the early slot on Saturday, a Hockey Night in Canada game, so 4 p.m. Pacific time for that one. All right.
We've got Marcus Pettersson.
We do have Marcus Pettersson. We talked about him. Didn't love his night. Haven't liked a lot of his season, but let's see what the veteran defenseman had to say after a 6-1 shellacking at the hands of the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we had a decent start. The power play was clicking in the first and gave us some life, and then they started coming after us in the second, and I don't know. I thought we started just throwing pucks a little bit everywhere and not helping each other get out of our zone, and that allowed them to kind of get back at us. And then, I mean, we left Tola out to dry today. Too many great days.
Seems at times this year you guys will give up a couple of goals in quick succession, and that kind of turns the game, and that was the case again tonight where they scored even strength, and then again on the power play like a minute later. How do you try and stem that tide to make sure that you don't have those key short moments in games where things turn against you?
Yeah, we got to simplify it a little bit, get on our forecheck. I think sometimes, I know it sounds a little bit quirky, but try to do too much with the puck sometimes in the neutral zone when we have had pressure against us, and I think simplifying it will allow us to take momentum back.
When you give up a couple of quick goals like that, given where you are in the standings, is it tough to find the energy to push back?
We got to find a way. We can't just fall down and die. We gotta get back on the horse. And like I said, it's up to us veterans in here to kind of get the team back on track. And I think we got to do a better job of that.
You talked about kind of what was happening in your own end and the giveaways. Just, is it what Dallas did, or is it just things that you need to be a little bit more clean at?
Both, I think. I mean, they're a good team, give them credit, but when you give good teams opportunities, they're going to take them. So I think that's what happened tonight.
All right, there you go. Marcus Pettersson. And again, accountability, that's fine. Saying, hey, they got to be better. I'm not sure that they can be a whole lot better, but saying it's one thing, they got to get out there and try to make it happen. But he's not wrong when he says, you're not going to roll over and die. There's 22 games to go. It is their job, and they are paid well to show up and compete, and they haven't done enough of that. So you'd like more from him. You'd like more from a lot of guys up and down that roster, and you'd like a lot more from the guys in the front office here, too, as we work our way to Friday. We touched on the fact that been a lot of talk, but no action, and maybe that just is their lot in life right now, that they're slotted behind other teams that have more attractive trade pieces. We'll see where it goes here, but I'm not expecting to hear anything on this Monday night, so that'll bleed into Tuesday, and then we truly will be into the final 72 hours leading into the trade deadline. And again, there's a fan base in the market here that will not accept striking out like they did last year.
Yeah. I definitely don't think that they will accept it, but I think that some might need to prepare for the reality that it might happen. I don't know, man. There are a lot of other, to be fair to the Canucks right now, no one's done anything on yesterday and today. It's been very quiet so far, but I do expect things to ramp up tomorrow, and then, like you mentioned, the 72 hours before the trade deadline. But there are a lot of other shoes that need to drop, right? There are a lot of other dominoes that need to fall before anyone is even going to think to come to the Vancouver Canucks with an offer and say, can you please give us David Kampf? Or can you please give us Evander Kane that retained? Or can you please give us Teddy Bluger? The Connor Garland sweepstakes, yeah, it's there. I think there's a few teams involved right now, but that's going to be a difficult move. I think the ask probably going to be a first-round pick, which, to be fair to them, it should be.
Yep.
And then the whole Tyler Myers situation that is really handcuffing them, I think, in terms of their overall planning of what might happen and what they're going to do. And then beyond that, like we've talked about before, the Besters of the world and the Petterssons of the world can't see anything happening there. And then Jake DeBrusk, like we mentioned before in the last show, super quiet, and I think it will remain super quiet here until they get an offer, if there is one, on deadline day. And again, they're going to have to go to him and see if he's willing to move.
We're going to hear from Adam Foote in a sec. Before we do that, though, let's get to our Bet365 line of the night. Relatively quiet night around the National Hockey League. I know I gave out the standings at the top. I think people don't worry about the top of the standings. It's more about the bottom. Well, the Canucks lost, so they don't gain any ground on anybody. So the gap is still 10 points behind St. Louis, and they actually got a bounce tonight. The New York Rangers were down 4-0 and came back and tied their game against Columbus. They lost in overtime, but the Rangers get a single point. So New York has pulled 11 points clear of the Canucks. Chicago is a dozen in front. But really, it's St. Louis is the team that you have to watch right now, and we'll see if the Blues move some players out and what their roster looks like after the trade deadline. But the gap is 10 points. St. Louis has 53. And the Vancouver Canucks, after 60 games with a record of 18-35-7, are stuck on 43 points. And again, we've lived it. We've done shows after every single game. There are nights, though, where it's still hard to process that the home record is 6-18-5.
It's crazy, man. It is.
6 wins in 29 home games.
For a team that's supposed to have a lot of top-end heavy talent, they just cannot get it done. I mean, they're not getting it done on the road either, but still, it's better than home. And even going back to last season, they didn't have a good home ice record.
Right.
So it's carried over. There's something that's not going well. Juju's bad at Rogers Arena. The change of the seats really messed them up a little bit. But again, there's something that is so completely wrong with getting ready to be able to play and be a professional athlete on home ice night in and night out for them.
All right. Well, we'll get back to Canucks talk in a sec, but let's put it aside here. Where are you headed for your lines of the night?
Not to Vancouver, but we're going to the Vegas Golden Knights. I like them in Buffalo as an underdog. I also like the Blackhawks at Winnipeg. So 2 road dogs there. And then give me the Minnesota Wild at home. Again, also a dog. So 3 dogs. If you like it, come ride with me. Plus 961. Some pretty good odds there. Whatever you bet, it's never ordinary. Bet365. Download the app. Get in on the game. Use code NATION. Bet365 must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Lost on the Leafs today in their shootout loss.
Is Quinn going to be back in Minnesota for that one? Is he did Saturday Night Live, went home, played. Now he was back tonight doing the Tonight Show in New York.
He's going to raise the flag next on top of the Statue of Liberty. No?
I don't know. Yeah, we were talking about first pitch at the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah, I mean, that's conceivable that someone is going to be there for Team USA for sure, or at least if they make it far. But yeah.
We'll see about that. All right, I am curious. Let's hear a little bit of Adam Foote. I'm not sure we'll take the entire postgame press conference, but again, this is a night that his team basically rolled over after a reasonable start and a decent first 20 minutes, but you can't get away playing 20 minutes against the Dallas Stars. Otherwise, what happened. Here's the head coach at the podium.
Well, I mean, not a bad first, 1-1. I mean, tough bounce on a total on that end board. They made it 3-1 in the second. We, in the third, it was interesting. We lost the handle like one of our Ds had a turnover. He's trying to go deep with it. It was the right play. Just got to use the boards, and I think he fanned on it. And then, OC lost the handle, fumbled at puck, and went right to them for a goal. So those 2 plays, I don't think are those guys getting nervous or wound up. It was more, I don't know. You usually don't see those guys do those things, but after that, it just seemed like we've all been there before as players. When it doesn't go your way, you feel, like you're like, oof, you don't feel anything's going your way. That's where you just got to dig deep and stick together and put out the fires together and play like we did in the first. But it's to learn. You learn from it, right? You're gonna have to learn the hard way. You're playing against a really good, savvy hockey team on their A game, even with a couple guys out. They won 9 in a row coming in, and those types of plays are going to bury on it.
Do you have an update on P.O. Joseph, and with the fact that Tyler's been taking warm-ups lately, if he has to miss time, I assume you'll have to recall a defenseman here pretty quickly?
Yeah, we'll find out. I think he's getting some x-rays while we were playing at the end there, so we'll see what's gone up with the upper body there.
You give up those 2 goals early in the second period, and then in the second and third, your team combined for just 7 shots. When you got down like that, and you've had some of those moments, Evander talked about it, where you give up goals, in quick succession. Where you are at the standings right now, is it tough to push back in those moments?
Well, you're also playing against a real savvy team that's, they're clogging it up. The guys were trying to push back there. They didn't. You look at the first period, we didn't have, what they have, 7 shots. I think it was pretty even. And, it's just staying in it, not getting deflated when a couple things don't go your way. Like, how does that bounce happen? I don't know. I'm not a goalie, but I would think that that's a tough bounce, but on a maybe a veteran goalie, he may come back little bit different, and that doesn't go in. But that's learning. That's just going through it. And you're like that went in. You could feel, well, what? Like we felt like we were right there, And that's not on total. That's just that happens in hockey. And it's like I was just talking to some of the guys that have played a long time. We've all been on games even when our Stanley Cup years where we lose 8-0 or 8-1 and no one says a word and everything went wrong. Here the key is, it happened in San Jose game. That feel. It's happened about 3 times since Christmas. That's what we got to keep out. And the players are aware of it. Just to, believe it can come back. When you get down too quick, it's happened a lot through a mistake or a bad bounce or being youthful or that's where mentally just grab and stick to what we know and it gets away sometimes. And a good team like that's rolling is going to take advantage of those mistakes.
You challenged Petey in the third period of the last game, and you wanted to see more zip, and you were confident you were going to get a good response from him. How do you feel he played tonight?
I thought he came out good. I thought he came a lot better. As the game went on, he's a part of the team where it wasn't rolling our way, like whether it was, bounces or, stick checks, and then you lose Joseph, and it was we felt a little bit overwhelmed there. It is good for young guys to go through that, but it's you have to learn the hard way.
All right, there you go, Adam Foote. Question about Elias Pettersson, like the way he came out. And, he was on the ice. His line scored the only Canuck goal of the night. He doesn't factor in it, and he doesn't have a shot on goal. So hard to get too excited about his night at the office, and it's 3 games since the Olympics without a single shot on goal. Now, in saying that, he had a couple of attempts that were blocked where the intention certainly was to put the puck on net. And there was one in the second period where his shot was blocked and it went right to Evander Kane. Actually, it was early in the third period, and Kane ended up getting a pretty decent look as well. And so, it wasn't like he didn't have the shooter's mentality entirely, but I'm just so hard-pressed to sit here and give a guy credit for shot attempts. At some point, he's got to find a way to work himself free, to find those shooting lanes, and ultimately put pucks on net. And the other thing there, and I get it, it's the season's been a disaster. I'm not here to quarrel with Adam Foote, but when he says that San Jose game and that feeling of games getting away, and then he said it's happened about 3 times since Christmas. It happened the other night in Seattle. They got lit up 6-0 by the Oilers on home ice. They lost 5-0 in Toronto on a Saturday night. Montreal skated away from them. Vegas and Utah just before the Olympics. It's been more than 3 nights. A little selective memory there on the part of the head coach.
Yeah, and I think when you really look at it, it's all kind of jumbled into one really bad L.
Fair enough.
That's what the Canucks have been taking night in and night out is, again, that they lose. But again, to your point on Elias Pettersson and the coach's comments on him, good in the first, but shot attempts and block shots, even though he didn't have any in this hockey game, aren't something that we can measure this player by. That the bar has been set so low for him from what it used to be, and he's still not able to reach that bar, there's a problem. And hopefully they can figure it out, and hopefully he can figure it out here. They don't really have any time to do it because you got the Carolina Hurricanes coming in on Wednesday night.
Yeah, and an angry Carolina Hurricanes team that's coming in. They don't lose often. The Dallas Stars have won 9 in a row. Carolina had a 5-game win streak snapped. Their loss in Seattle, their first regulation loss in 13 hockey games. They were 10-2 heading into Climate Pledge. And again, they outshot Seattle 37-15. It wasn't like they played poorly. The Canes started the night second in the overall standing, so they get leapfrogged by Dallas. And it's funny, and I'm guilty of this too. You think Carolina Hurricanes, you kind of think fairly low event, just boa constrictor, suck the life out of you defensively, but they're the 5th highest scoring team in the league. They only had 1 goal tonight. They're 7th in the league in defense, but they are one of the best at shot suppression. Seth Jarvis, the Olympian, leads them with 26 goals. Sebastian Aho has 22. Andrei Svechnikov, 21. I think Nick Ehlers had their goal tonight in Seattle. Aho leads the team with 59 points. And Brandon Bussey is one of the great stories in the National Hockey League this season. He backed up tonight. So they're going to ride the bus here on Wednesday night. He is 24-3-1 on the season.
God, he earned himself an extension. It wasn't even a massive extension either.
He jumped at a little security. He has won 8 straight and 11 of his last 12. And there will be a cheering section for Logan Stankoven of Kamloops, the former Blazer, was supposed to play here last year. And on the eve of the game, he was dealt as part of that Dallas-Carolina trade, went from the Stars to the Carolina Hurricanes, has found a home. Not the biggest guy in the world, but shows up, works hard, competes. And I saw a tweet from John Keane, the radio voice of the Kamloops Blazers, said more than 100 making the trek down the coast to see Logan Stankoven play for the first time in the National Hockey League here in Vancouver. I had the chance to golf with Logan at the Blazers golf tournament in the summer. Just a good, solid dude who, loving life, obviously, in the National Hockey League. And they love him in Kamloops, local guy that played for the Blazers and now has made the jump to the National Hockey League. So,
is he good?
Yeah, a golfer?
Yeah.
No, he'd be the first to admit he doesn't play a lot.
Yeah.
He had just bought a boat, and I think that was more his summertime pursuit to
must
head
be
out to
nice.
the shoe swap. Yeah, exactly. So he wasn't.
Yeah.
He was an average. Like when you think there are a lot of hockey players that that's all they do all summer long. He's not one of those guys, but he was great company, and again, not the biggest guy in stature, but could put the club on the ball and it would move. So,
yeah, there's a lot of guys on this.
No, he was great company, and I had never met him. I mean, he wasn't even born when I was calling games in Kamloops. So, both have ties to the Blazers, but different eras. So it was fun to meet him and spend some time out on the golf course with him last summer. Hopefully, I can track him down either at practice or on game day on Wednesday. The Canucks are back at practice. They need all the work they can get right now. So 11:30 at the Raj on Tuesday. All right, a forgettable night of hockey for the Canucks. They lurched to the 60-game mark with their 35th outright loss of the season. 6-1. They fall to the Dallas Stars. Evander Kane opened the scoring, and then after that, it was all Dallas. Our thanks to Jake Lazar, working hard behind the scenes. He was the guy that put the trade tracker. I was fixated by the trade tracker. I got distracted by the trade tracker. I like that. It'll be there again on our next show on Wednesday after the Canucks play the Hurricanes. But for Jacob and for Irf, this is Jeff. Thanks so much for checking out this episode of Rink Wide Vancouver.